Brookville Park. There's also a private and confidential report, which we've just dealt with, and I just got to work my way through this roadmap differently. Thank you, Madam Clerk. So I need a motion to receive 12.1, which is the in-camera report. Moved by Councillor Collins, seconded by Councillor Jackson. All those in favour? Thank you. And now we move to 8.1, which is the report on the aviary. What is the wish of the committee? May I have a motion to approve 8.1? I just thought I'd get it started.
Madam Chair,
I was just sitting there. So we're going to hear the delegations. We've moved to approve the delegations. So Caitlin, is it Smith or Smythe?
Smythe.
Caitlin Smythe, would you come forward to the podium, please?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, point of order. Do we know how many officially wish to speak? And two do? Okay, thank you very much.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Caitlin. What's that?
Both at the same time or just one at the
Well, do you both have separate things to say?
Okay, sorry, would you like to come down as well?
If they're just supporting you, then they can come at the same time. If they have something separate to say, then they might as well wait.
It's all along the same lines. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was a little bit short notice, but yeah. Okay.
And so are you, is it Doria? Dania?
Daria.
Daria. I'm sorry. Daria. Okay. Okay, so this is Caitlin and Daria.
Yes.
Caitlin, go ahead when you're ready.
Okay. So hello everyone. First we want to thank you all for letting us speak on such short notice. This is a very important issue to us, to volunteers that have dedicated thousands of hours every year to care for these birds. We're here today because a proposal was made aware to us late Friday night. We had discussed this with the city on Wednesday, but was under the impression that this had already been a proposal that was passed and set in stone. Furthermore, reading the proposal, we have several points of disagreement with how it was written and feel it does not accurately reflect what has been going on in the aviary. And the most important point is that it's not been made with the consultation of the members at the aviary. Our simple request today is for this proposal to be tabled until a new proposal can be made with the input of the members of the Friends of the Aviary who have cared for these birds for 25 years and intend to care for them for many, many more years into the future. Our requests aren't unreasonable. They're not out there. We're not demanding you pay for a new building. We're not demanding that you pay us as staff. All we would like to do is to remain caretakers for these birds in the intermittent time while we raise funds and awareness to build ourselves a new aviary. And we would like to discuss the points about the agreement between the city and the aviary in further detail. Okay. Sorry. One thing about the report that I would like to mention is that it mentions that the city has been required to, first of all, the report itself is that the city will work with animal services and the volunteers to find temporary homes among the community for the birds, foster homes, and give us the aviary 3 years to come up with a private aviary. If in those 3 years those birds would be permanently surrendered to those homes and, the aviary would be done. Our proposal for change would start with the fact that we would be able to take care of the birds and we would keep them together during this point of time. This is because birds are very social animals. They've been in this flock for over 25 years. They have a very consistent volunteer base and we can take care of them. There has been some internal dispute which we've been working very hard at attempting to resolve. The only thing we need to resolve it would be recognition from the city as the new official board, and then we can work towards these issues. Now, the OSPCA has mentioned that, has filed 2 reports of non-compliance with the city in regards to the mice levels at the aviary and the lack of lighting. Now, I was there when they came in April and they commented on the same things. We don't want to get too much into the issues, the internal issues of the aviary, but this is, can be traced solidly back to the previous administration. We had recognized this much earlier in the year before these reports had ever come out or the OSPCA had ever investigated. And we have been trying our very best as volunteers who care for the lives of these birds as they have no other resources to act out to resolve these issues. Unfortunately, the previous board had been resistant. We have not been able to move forward, so we took recognition in that and elected new members legally to the board. Now, we have not been able to move forward with fixing this mouse issue. This mouse issue arose due to the previous board stating that they did not want to put poison down because they felt bad about killing the mice, and they've been saying this for the 2 years I've been here. The mice have never been a problem to this extent. As well for the lighting, we have had proper spectrum lighting for the birds before, but they need to be replaced. And the previous board had also been talking about replacing those lights for a very long time, but did not act on it. We as volunteers realize this, and we care for these birds. We don't go in because it's fun. We go in because these birds have no one else to rely upon, and we fully believe, we fully have confidence in ourselves that we can supply these birds with the necessities of life, with all the love and care that they need, and build them a forever home, which matches what they deserve. We just need time to draft a proposal in consultation with the Friends of the Aviary and the city that would be best in the interest of the birds, and taking into consideration what has happened over the past few years at the aviary from the volunteers' perspective on where the birds' care has failed, and how the city can work together in a very moderate, mild way to allow us to go ahead and take these necessary steps we know to take care of the birds.
Okay. So I'm going to veer a little bit from the usual, and I'm assuming you're finished, yes?
Those were my main points. I mean, there's other issues that are brought up in the OSPCA report that I can talk about at length for a very long time, but I would like to postpone that until our meeting with the city to redraft a new proposal, as I don't know how much time I have left in my taking.
You don't. You've used your 5 minutes.
Yes, which is, yeah.
Okay. So Councillor Johnson has to go to another meeting, and he would like to just say something quickly. So if I could let him just have a minute to speak, and then councillors can ask questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I do apologize. I'm the chair of the Emergency and Community Services Committee, and we have our agenda review meeting starting right now. So I'm going to scoot to that. That's not a deep problem because I'm not a voting member of this committee. So I won't be missing an opportunity to vote because I don't have one. The primary thing I wanted to say, Madam Chair, is a great big thank you to the volunteers who've come forward. In my several months of learning more about the aviary than I ever knew before, a few things have become clear to me, and one of the most important among those things is the love that the volunteers have for the birds. And I'd like to thank them for all their stewardship, and I know that their stewardship of animals in the city will be ongoing. Whatever happens with the aviary file, and I don't think the outcome is quite clear yet, I know that love will endure and brings a lot of enrichment to the city. And so I'd like to thank them for provoking a good conversation about animal welfare and our relationship with animals as citizens. It's a very important topic to think about, and the aviary file has let us all do that. And the volunteers have provided a beautiful resource for the community for many years. When I was a teenager in the 90s, my grandmother lived with us in Westdale in her old age, and frequently, in her wheelchair, she and I would go to the aviary. And I have beautiful memories of the aviary, and I identify with all the citizens who are sad to see the aviary hitting a major bump in the road right now. I've met with 6 of the leading volunteers, and I've met with staff, and in the in-camera meeting that we just had, I shared my most basic concerns, which are legal and ethical concerns around animal welfare law compliance. And I know that this committee is going to make the right decision, and that all of you are going to continue working for animal welfare. So those are things that encourage me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson?
Well, I was going to wait till the second delegation was finished.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See you later.
See you.
Daria?
Madam Chairman, councillors, thank you for letting us speak so last minute. I want to mention that the group of volunteers that we've been working with, that I've been working with personally, is an extremely talented group of people and fully capable of making the aviary something that the city can be proud of. It can be a tourist attraction. It can be a lot of things, and it can be an educational tool for people in the city. It's something that we need to build up rather than break down. And I believe that the Friends of the Aviary nonprofit organization has not been given the chance that they need in order to make this aviary what it could be. And I'm going to repeat a little bit of what Caitlin said, but only because I think it's so important, because the current state of the aviary, there are issues which are listed in the OSPCA report. These issues are fixable, but the Friends of the Aviary have not been given a chance to fix them. Part of the issue is that the city has not consulted with the organization to the extent that I believe would have allowed us to resolve the issues. A new board of directors has been elected on July 31st, and the new board of directors is pretty much spinning its wheels in place because we have not been given the chance to resolve these issues, because the former board of directors has continued to work with the city, and the city has continued to enable them. And I believe that if given a chance, this new board of directors can bring the aviary to a state where it is manageable, or house the birds together in a temporary facility until we can build an aviary that will bring to the city something that you can be proud of, something that will be both a tourist attraction and educational tool. For example, like the bird kingdom in Niagara, if you think along those lines. With the city's support, we can make this something much better. So the current report that came out was very last minute, not with consultation of the board of directors of the Friends of the Aviary. And we are asking today that you give us more time, that you consult with the board of the directors of the Friends of the Aviary, and work together rather than against us in order to give these birds what they need and to bring something great to the city. Thank you.
And if I could just say, sorry, one more thing. We all recognize that that building needs to go. It was meant for 2 years. It has lasted us 25 years. There's no question about that. There's also no question about the state. But we can fix them. We can find temporary locations with all the birds to be housed together. It has been done in the past, and we can absolutely, with the sheer amount of support and outpouring from the community. We used to have all the food from the aviary donated for free. We used to have vets come down twice a year for free from Guelph to check all the birds. We've had offers from professional advertisers and marketers and fundraisers to donate their time and energy towards helping the aviary. We've had offers for certified electricians to come in and take a look at the issues going on at the aviary. I would not be here if I did not think that the potential to build build the birds a home that they deserve. I would not be here. I wouldn't be here if I didn't think that was possible and very likely. And I hope you can realize that there's a lot of resources in the community that have not been accessed in the previous few years that can be accessed again, and we are fully willing and already starting to begin to access those resources. And we would simply again like to ask you that this is deferred until we can consult with the city on the plan moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you, Caitlin and Daria, for coming forward on behalf of the other volunteers here at the 11th hour here. So I'm sympathetic, and I think I've written back to a number of you over the weekend. I'm sympathetic and I'm open-minded to buying you some more time. But here's three conundrums. Three very blunt questions I need to ask you two, if you two could answer, please, that's kind of looming over this matter, and why I believe staff have, in their best wisdom and advice, made the recommendation they have. So please, to the best of your ability, here's the three conundrums. Number one, two different groups. Is there, if we were to table this matter for a period of time, and it cannot be an indefinite period of time, can the two groups somehow find some consensus, some collaboration and cooperation, or who will the city staff then be dealing with, Madam Chair, through you to either Caitlin or Daria?
Yep.
I think that that's a misunderstanding because in fact there really aren't two groups or shouldn't be, because the issue is who is the board of directors of the nonprofit organization. We have the legal documentation actually right here to prove that we are the board of directors. Some members who are part of the former board of directors insist that this is not a legal document. They insist that we cannot function as a board of directors for whatever reasons they list, and we rightfully disagree. Such disputes have occurred in other organizations in the past. It is not uncommon for a former board of directors to not relinquish their rights and responsibilities. And I believe that this is what's happening right now, and I hope that the city will support us in moving forward with the new duly elected board of directors.
Okay, thanks, Daria. Caitlin, do you want to add anything on that?
I would like to add that, I just lost my train of thought. Hold on, sorry.
About the new versus the old board of directors?
Yes, absolutely. We have done our best to reach out to the old board of directors in the past to work with them in a very polite and formal and professional manner. They have not been cooperative. They've been sending, kind of threatening emails. We will do, again, our best. If you require us to work together in order to move this forward, we will do our absolute best to meet with them and to collaborate them and say, set aside our differences. We're going to focus on taking care of these birds the way we know that we need to take care of them. We can't promise, we can't tell the future on whether that will result in one group coming forward essentially for this issue or not, but we will do everything in our ability if that is what you require for us to come forward.
Caitlin, and that, again, I'm not sure where the committee stands, but if we were to buy you some more time, that's conundrum number one, in my opinion. That would certainly be more advantageous and beneficial, even the outreach to the former board of directors to try to at least have them not work against you. If you're telling me you have, based on whatever approval, executive approval, lawyer's approval, you have this new not-for-profit that has since been set up. Second conundrum that staff have rightly pointed out is the two orders from the OSPCA. Mm-hmm. I used to be with our on our SPCA board for 10 years, from the mid-90s to 2006 up on Dartnell Road, so we work closely with the provincial body. So that's kind of looming, and staff are concerned that to buy you some more time by tabling, we've got two orders, I believe, by Christmas time we're dealing with. So, Madam Chair, through you to Caitlin or Daria, what's the solution to that, based on your request to table?
Sorry, the solution to solve these issues by Christmas time?
No, sorry. The orders that are pending from the OSPCA, we could give you all the time in the world, but it could end up being that the city potentially will be on the hook to resolve those two orders. And how are you going to provide input and solutions to the OSPCA's orders, Madam Chair, through you?
Yes, well, we can fix the light issue tomorrow. We can go out and buy lights. We've had the lights. They're there. We've had them before. That's not an issue. And we can consult with the OSPCA to make all efforts in order to reduce the mice population as to what they recommend. At the same time, we are not saying that we want to necessarily stay at this building for longer than the OSPCA has recommended and what the current agreement with the city is. We recognize that that building is very old, as I had mentioned before, and that the mice problem is very difficult because it's been let build up for so long. Again, we would love to communicate with the OSPCA and work with them very closely to see what they would like to see in terms, if we were to table this issue, not for long, we're not asking for long, but just to consult with the Friends of the Aviary for an official proposal as to what they would require to see so that the city would not become liable and what we can do in terms of that. And if there isn't a solution in that point, then we will, there's no point. We don't want the city to be liable for the birds, and we will do everything in our power to work with the city so that neither the city is liable nor the birds are suffering.
I appreciate you. That's a very important comment, Caitlin, that you said at the end there, recognizing our city staff are doing their very best in due diligence. You love the birds. The FOT has been there in some fashion or form for 25 years, caring for these wonderful creatures. Our staff are not only trying to support that, but also they've got a taxpayer and the corporate interest to be concerned about as well. So I appreciate your last comment there that you would try to be part of a solution, but recognizing if it's not possible, then we might have to go with the way the city is recommending. Daria, did you want to make a
I
comment?
wanted to add to that. Everything Caitlin said, I completely agree. The issues can be solved. We haven't been given a chance. And there's multiple possible solutions. We can work with the SPCA to resolve the specific items which they have listed as concern. We can also look for a new temporary new building to house all the birds while we raise funds and build a new aviary. We have had the outpouring from community has been great, and there are potential solutions for temporary housing places for the birds without having to find individual foster homes for them. And we would like to bring a new proposal to the council where we would list all of these things and where we would be able to talk about deadlines. You mentioned Christmas as a deadline by the SPCA. We can have a deadline in advance of Christmas, in advance of the SPCA deadline, where the SPCA can come in and assess whether there has been improvement, or if we have a new facility, they can assess that. We are very willing to work with the SPCA and with the city to resolve these.
Okay.
I would just like to add another comment. Yeah, we haven't been contacted by the city or the OSPCA about their 2 orders of non-compliance, and we want to care for the birds, and we want them to meet the OSPCA standards, and we will be looking immediately for a new temporary building to house those birds in, because we recognize this building, even no matter how many efforts we put into it, it is falling apart. It was meant for 2 years. It has not been suitable for the birds. It's not been the best place it could be for the birds for a very long time. And we really want to look at fixing that as best as we can and complying with the city and the OSPCA and in the interest in the birds.
Thank you, Caitlin, Daria. The third conundrum, Caitlin and Daria, it dovetails into what you just said there, and that is that in the background report, the public report on page 3, staff said about 7 years ago, it would have costed potentially about 300 grand to do some basic repairs to the existing facility there. And today, if facilities were to meet proper standards with design, approvals, construction, it could be anywhere from $1.5 million to $2 million, which obviously is very, very significant to the local tax levy. So, Madam Chair, through you to Caitlin or Daria for a comment on that too, please.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, is this talking about renovating the existing building or building a completely new aviary?
If I could ask, would you allow me the latter two, Madam Chair, just to get that clarity from our Manager of Forestry, Leanne, please?
Leanne?
Just on that point, please, Leanne.
In response through the chair, that is a calculation that would be a new facility that's appropriate as an aviary as opposed to a converted home.
So just to clarify further, Leanne, I know, Madam Chair, we normally do delegations, but this is just to clarify the cost point, if you allow me further, please. So, Leanne, is the 320,000 reference then, is that just for the basic repairs of the existing, through you, Madam Chair?
In response through the chair, that was a calculation that was done for repairs on the existing facility in 2010, $2010.
Okay, thank you, Leanne. Back to the delegation. Caitlin, Daria, based on what you've heard?
Pardon? Sorry, can I? Yeah. To that, I mean, I would say that I am not knowledgeable in terms of, the appraisal and costing of building a new building. That number seems extremely high to my initial reaction to that number is that it isn't accurate. And that I don't know if that includes the city aiding in building or if it would be us building it on its own. I honestly can't give you a professional opinion on whether that is accurate or not. I would say, based on my own opinion, that isn't accurate, and even in the meantime, we will be doing our best to access other, people to consult in the community that would be willing to consult and give us a second opinion on what we're able to do. And also, there's a lot of people who are willing to donate to these birds, so we may be able to find partnerships to donate maybe an established facility and, modify that. We can look out for outreach to materials, to building costs, to building and labor costs. sorry, I'm a little bit rambling right now, but yeah, it's true. Like, I can't determine how accurate that cost is right now, and I don't think any of us can accurately say that. It's truly $2 million to build a new aviary at this point of time. And at this point in time, it's not something we can fix right now. It's not in the immediacy of delaying this. The original agreement can still exist. It'll be, 3-4 years for us to build a new aviary. And if it becomes apparent that it's going to be $2 million, we can't afford it, it's not going to be suitable for the birds, then we can still go out to the community and find them suitable forever homes.
Okay. So, Caitlin, yes, Daria, did you want to quickly, please? And then I'm just going to wrap up, Madam Chair. Thanks for your indulgence.
That number does seem really high, 1.5 to 2 million, but it's not impossible. With given time, we're talking about a timeline right now. We were not consulted at all. So for the short term, we can find a livable place for the birds. In the long term, we would like to build that aviary, and it may cost 1.5 to $2 million. But considering the amount of support we've had, I don't think it's impossible to reach that amount of money in donations and build a new aviary within a given timeline.
Okay.
And sorry, just very quickly,
Thank you,
also
Daria. Yep.
in accessing grants and partnering with possibly McMaster University, Guelph University, there's so many resources out there that we have to access. Not to mention there's the Ward 1 money that can be donated. I think Aidan mentioned it was 1.5 million per year. And, and I'd also like to get a second opinion on that, to be truthful. Sorry, yeah.
So, listen, I really admire the enthusiasm of both you on behalf of the volunteers, both here and many volunteers that are beyond within the city. So, bottom line, the OSPCA 2 orders are looming. I think there's a 3-month window, and you say you're willing to talk to them as well, work with our city staff. We can't give you beyond that. I'm just even thinking of 2 to 4 weeks even to allow your conversation to continue with a tabling and reporting back here, Madam Chair, sometime in, let's say, mid-November, late November at the very latest. So, Madam Chair, through you to the ladies here, can you do something, or at least attempt to do something in that period of time?
Oh, absolutely. I was imagining a much shorter period of time in which discussion, because we have not gone together to write our own proposal, but from our discussions we've had, we're not imagining something far out from what the city is doing. We think our suggestions and to changes are very reasonable, and if you gave us that timeline, that's a lot longer than we were thinking of, and we would appreciate it, but yeah, it would be, yeah.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thanks, Daria. Madam Chair, at the appropriate time, I would then move a motion to table 8.1 with an upset limit of up to 4 weeks maximum from this moment to have the volunteers with staff report back or lift the tabling at that time. If it can be done in a week or two at the next Public Works meeting, Madam Chair, that's bonus. But I would just say an upset limit of a month, and that still falls within the OSPCA order timeframe, to my knowledge. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So can I have a motion to receive the delegations, both of them? Councillor Conley, seconded by Councillor Collins. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And now, Councillor Jackson, your motion?
Before I put my motion, Madam Chair, now to staff, Manager Seeley from Public Works, please, you've heard everything. You know what my desire, my preference would be, not to procrastinate, but you've heard the sincerity of the volunteers that spoke, caught off guard to some degree. Is a 2 to 4 week time frame out of the order? Is that going to cause you any logistical hardship? Madam Chair, through you to Leanne, or whoever wants to answer that, then please. The General Manager of Public Works, Dan McKinnon, then.
Through you, Madam Chair. I think tabling it shouldn't be a problem, but I think Nicole may want to add something to the conversation here.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. City Solicitor.
Nicole.
Monty.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. So my only comment would be, through you to the councillor, would be to have some mechanism of addressing the governance issues in terms of the dispute between the groups which the councillor identified. I think part of that would be requesting that they do resolve that through their own legal opinion, because frankly, I can't give them any advice on whether they are or are not a legitimate entity. So I think one of the key aspects to any further discussions would be them obtaining that legal advice for themselves, and then we can move on that basis, and I think give council and committee a further update at the end of the tabling period.
Thanks so much, City Solicitor. So, Madam Chair, I think the essence, if I've captured it with the 3 challenges, if you will, the Board of Governance issue in terms of the collaboration, hopefully between the two groups, the new group that's, they say they're now officially not-for-profit, bringing hopefully on board the others. That's challenge one in this 2 to 4 week window. I hope committee will give them. Secondly, the challenge of the OSPCA orders. And thirdly, the challenge of both short-term and long-term, the financial challenges in front of them. So I would hope that our legislative assistant would capture that within my tabling. And again, an upset limit of 1 month. Thank you. If I can get a seconder for that, thank you.
So moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Marula. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Carried. Carried. Thank you. Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so now we are going